What's going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. We have finally started this damn show that Bobby and I have been talking about now for like a month.
It's been a day or two.
Yeah, with our crazy schedules, because I know you're a super busy man. I'm a super busy person, outside of work. But yeah, dude, we're finally here. What's going on?
Hello there, Star Wars fans, and hello there, and thank you so much for having me on. And by the way, I really love your intro. That was one of the things I meant to say before we went live. But I just love like how BB-8 just pokes his little head out and then zaps the logo to life. It's really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, for the longest time I had this like one logo where it was like an intro where it was like TIE fighters flying everywhere and they
Hmm.
were flying like over the logo, and then afterwards I just changed it, and I was like, you know what? I want to make something like a little bit more girly and just have like a droid on there, cuz I ended up getting like my first droid ever from Galaxy's Edge, and I was like, okay, I got to add a droid, and then we ended up going with BB-8.
So was the first droid you did at Galaxy's Edge? I'm assuming it's a build a droid. Was it a BB unit as well?
No, it ended up being a it's the chopper, but I
Oh,
ended up
okay, a
yeah,
C1 unit.
yeah. So I ended
Nice.
up just like distressing it more and like making it look like it actually went through battle. And like I had it roaming around in my complex, and all my like older neighbors are staring at it like, what the heck is that?
What is going on?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my neighbors think I'm crazy. Like they saw me carrying in like a couple months ago. I was hauling in a land speeder and I'm like carrying it up the stairs, and my
Oh,
neighbor's like,
is it the Power Reel one from Toys R
yeah,
Us?
from Toys
Nice.
R Us. My neighbor's like staring at me and he was like, "Is that a land speeder?" And I was like, "Yeah."
You
And
bet.
he goes, "You like Star Wars?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is that why I saw you in he goes, "I think it was a Mandalorian outfit." I was like, "Yeah." And he
Yeah.
goes, "Oh." He's like, "That's cool." He's like, "Isn't that a kid's toy?" I go,
I
"Yeah, but
mean, sure on paper.
yeah." Well, my idea was like I was actually gonna like change up the battery, and then like one of my really good friends is a mechanic, so we were gonna like mock it up and have it drive faster than what it's supposed to, and we were gonna add like drift tires to it because I saw this cool TikTok of people drifting um like their go-karts in a empty parking garage, and I wanted to do that with the land speeder, just like drift throughout the
Nice.
whole thing.
That
My
would be so cool.
and I
Well,
work in
and then
orthopedics, so in case I injure myself.
not to mention, I mean, we saw what's her name? I don't know. I'm brain farting. She played
Shin?
yes, she's doing hers on the behind the scenes of Ahsoka. She's just
Yeah.
riding hers around and having a good time, and that I know that kind of brought it back into the limelight with fans, so to speak, because it was such a cool piece when it came back. What was that? 2017
Yeah.
when Last Jedi was coming out, and it was such a shame too because it came out right as Toys R Us was going out of business, at least in the
Yep.
United States, which is where it counts. But you didn't hear me say that. And um, I'm just kidding. I'm just jealous that Canada still has it and we don't.
I know.
Um,
But honestly, do you think
it's
if they
such a
brought
cool
Toys
thing.
R Us back here, like in the US, do you really think people are gonna go crazy for it as they
No, I really
no, right?
don't. I mean,
No.
we all say that we would. We really, it's one thing for all of us fans to, unite on Facebook and whatever and say, oh yeah, that would be so great to have Toys R Us. But I mean, let's look at the quote unquote returns we've gotten of Toys R Us in the United States, and they're, I mean, not to be mean, but they're not great. Let's
Yeah.
just put it like that. They were not great. They were not executed.
I know, it made me like really sad on the last day when like Toys R Us was still open.
Yeah,
There was one like 10 minutes away from my house. I went there and like cleared them out from all Star Wars Funko Pops that they had. They had like sales where they were like
yeah, it was
$1.50.
crazy.
Yeah, and I still have the photo. Like I'm literally carrying a whole bunch of Funko Pops, like walking up to the register, and the woman's like, "You have doubles of these." I was like, "And?" I was like, "They're
And
50 cents."
what am I gonna do? Leave them here? You know, Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Um, well, anyway, we have a convention coming up, Rebel
Yes.
ScumCon 2024. Speaking of really cool toys and collectibles that have been carried from various retail outlets over the years, we will have a vendor room filled with all kinds of cool and unique vendors who are bringing their own fan created items, as well as, of course, vendors who are carrying various Star Wars branded items, toys, and collectibles from the nearly 50 years now of Star Wars merchandise that we've been able to participate in. And of course, there's going to be other experiences and things like that in the vendor room, such as a demonstration area near where the 501st, Rebel Legion, Saber Guild, Mando Mercs, and Droid Builders are going to be. And that's where actors such as Demetrius Bistrevsky is going to do a um, live in-person lightsaber course that is a scaling course. So aside from finding cool toys and collectibles, there's also going to be experiences in the vendor room,
Oh, that
which
sounds like
is
so much fun.
it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a blast.
So
Not
I
to
do
mention there's
like
going to be panels and workshops happening too on the
I know
side.
I was on the website today and like looking at everything that you guys were doing. Plus I was buying like my Ahmad Best photo op. But yeah. Dude, as
Super
soon as
excited about
as
Ahmed.
as soon as I remember like the silhouette that you guys posted, I was like, no
Uh-huh.
effing way.
Oh
And I
yes.
remember I messaged you guys and I was like, I know who this is. And you were like, don't say nothing. I was like, I know who this is.
I was like, don't say it.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
don't
don't
say
say
it.
it. I
And
can't
I was
because I legally couldn't say it.
no,
Uh,
I know. And then I
but
remember I sent you guys I sent like whoever I was talking to on the Rebel Scum page, I sent them, a picture of when he was in the Mandalorian. And
yeah,
the person just sent me like a winking emoji back, and I was just like,
that
sweet
if
baby Jesus, I finally get to meet the man.
was it the main Rebel Scum IG or the Rebel
I
Scum Con IG?
No, I think it was the main Rebel
It
Scum
was probably
IG.
me then. Because it's usually also me on the main Rebel Scum Instagram. It's usually either me or Heather, and Heather's also one of our admins on the forums for the main website too, along with a few of our other admins, and we have quite a bit of admins on the rebelscum.com forums because
Yeah.
it takes so many, and luckily we've been blessed with some very passionate fans who have helped us continue with that too. But yeah, there's a lot of us on the media team. There's myself, who's on the main rebelscum.com Instagram along with Heather, but then Heather and Cheyenne, who was with me on the live announcement for Grant Feely and Vivian Lyra Blair. She also helps with our Instagram, and in fact, I think she's the main one on our Rebel Scum Con
Okay.
Instagram. And then one of our other uh, promoters, his name is Draxton. He runs the Discord. So if you're talking to us on Discord, you're likely communicating with Draxton, and he's been having a blast with our Star Wars fans on Discord. So if you're on Discord, there is an outlet for you guys to talk to us at Rebel ScumCon on Discord. So just look up Rebel ScumCon on Discord. You should find it pretty easily. And our shareable link when you go to get into it. Don't worry about that. Just go to get in, and we'll let you in. So
Yeah, and then like what I'll do is when this wraps up, I'll still do some editing and add all the information, on the information section on the bottom of the page. But, I will have to say the one thing that I do love about you guys is that you guys communicate with everybody so quick.
we try.
Yeah, you guys try, but that's one thing I have to say that is awesome, for it being, a first time con and everything, like you guys, just the professionalism, getting answered, like it's great. And that's one thing I want to give you guys credit that I absolutely love about that.
Well, thank you so much. And a lot of that just comes from a lot of con experience on our end. I myself have been attending conventions, big and small, regularly for Oh geez, how long has it been? Since 2010, which for some of our Star Wars fans, and that's probably not very long, especially in comparison to my partner Joshua, who's been attending conventions for well over 30 years.
Okay.
And part of our con experience comes from him, actually. In fact, a good chunk of it does. So while this is the first Rebel Scum Con as a Star Wars fan convention under the REBELSCUM.com brand, it's not necessarily the first convention within our pedigree, so to speak. For Josh and his father and a few other partners, they used to own and operate a convention called Epic Comic Con out of Florida, which was bought out by another larger Comic Con, which was then bought out by another larger Comic
Larger
Con
Comic Con.
from going forward from there. And they had six very well filled out shows, pretty back to back down in Florida before he moved to Texas and ended up starting Order 66 Toys, which led to us doing REBELSCUM.com and now REBELSCUMCon. We've
Yeah.
been all over the place, so it's been a really fun ride.
Yeah, and I bet because I see like how you guys are always all interacting with each other on the lives or like any of the like the little reels that you guys do. And you can kind of
Yeah,
see like you guys are very like a tight knit, like big family, and like you guys are so excited about like what's to come at the end of June. I know I'm excited. So like I know deep inside you guys are like freaking out about the excitement of what's to come.
we are very much freaking out about the excitement. I mean, what whenever we because we've also been meeting to meeting too. It's been so much. I mean, I we came from this to this live show now off of another meeting too, planning stuff for year two,
Oh wow.
which ended up going longer than I expected, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So we are already working on year two of Rebel ScumCon, in fact, which will be 2025. Dates within that year, of course, are pending, but uh, going back to what you said about us kind of operating like a family, that kind of goes back to me and Josh really, because when I came onto the scene of Order 66 Toys in early 2017, I was just finishing up college in a degree with a degree of radio television. And I was in the car business at the time and kind of at a crossroads because I had started getting more involved with Order 66, which was a the first official licensed Star Wars collectible toy store in the world.
Okay.
And that was before even Disney came onto the scene. And then when Disney came onto the scene, we just continued working with them as well too. And it's always been a pleasure. Um, and then we got more and more involved with the community. We do a live show every Friday night for the past 6 years this coming July. And every Friday at 7, we're live on the Order 66 Toys Facebook page. And through that, we would also do fun, just Star Wars fan content. And we've always operated as a close family, which is why going into things like Rebel Scum Con, it kind of has that familial feel to it because we've kind of always operated and treated each other like family. Even the people who work with us, or even just some of our fans who are regulars and are commenting on our show all the time. And doing stuff like that, just being present and being involved in the community around us, is what led us to inheriting REBELSCUM.com itself from Philip Wise, who started REBELSCUM.com. And Philip just kind of scouted us out and selected us himself based off of that work we were doing in the community. Because even when COVID happened and we had to close our stores doors like everybody else did,
Mm-hmm.
we still kept in touch with the community through our live show and still made a regular habit of doing content and being engaging with them, because through that content, I mean, you can engage kind of like you and I are now, but it's more through the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that interaction is still there. So what's cool is through that, you can interact with us, you can interact with the other Star Wars fans in the chat, And then those Star Wars fans are usually as close as, maybe down the street and as far as even places like Australia. And
Yeah.
some of those viewers have been with us the whole 6 years, which is, you know, really awesome because they're really fantastic fans. So we just kind of really see Rebel ScumCon in a sense as expanding that Star Wars family that we've already been building on the past 6 years, and that Josh has been building on because Order 66 has been operating since 2010. And um, so just through making content and just informing the fans through that, and now Rebel Scum, it's become really, really cool.
That sounds
And
really cool.
now we're just the next evolution just made sense as to, well, why don't we take all of this digital group meetup, whether it's through the Order 66 stuff or whether it's through rebelscum.com or whether it's through Rebel Scum's forums, and bring these fans together in person, and let's just hang out, have a really good time, and meet a bunch of Star Wars celebrities that we're dying to meet. What more could you want, really, as a Star Wars fan? I think so.
Yeah.
That's how
And
Rebel
that's how
Scum Con was born.
And that's how I see it as for somebody who's been attending cons for a really long time. I just want to go there for fun. I want to meet new people. I want to learn new people's stories, why they got into Star Wars, what keeps them loving Star Wars.
Hmm.
And like the main thing you just said, it's meeting some cool ass celebrities. And I know every con that I've gone to, I've always enjoyed that. Plus, like the one-on-one interactions that you get to have with these celebrities. Yeah,
Yes.
they're meeting hundreds of people all the time, but
Hmm.
there is going to be that one time that you do have that connection with the actor, or the voice actor, or even like a sketch artist or anything. But at the end of the day, there might be that one memorable moment that they'll always remember you as. And if they see you again at the con, and they say hi to you and they go, "Oh, I remember you," in your mind you're like, "Oh, like a little kid, my favorite celebrity remembered me." And I love cons like that, especially, small, wholesome ones, because it's the actors that go there, they really interact with the fans.
Yes, especially on some of the bigger cons, and we get it. There's tons and tons of people, and there's only so much time, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult. But that I hope that's reflective also in our floor plan, because we took a lot of that into consideration through our own experiences of attending conventions when we made our celebrity room. And our celebrity room is nearly the size of our vendor room. So being a separate room also, it doesn't take away from the vendors. If someone's trying to stand in line for a celebrity and, you know, there's business loss there, or just frustration in general because
Yeah.
now the egress is cramped and crowded. So by putting them in a big, wide open room, and we also had to put them in a big room because there's 44, 45 celebrity guests currently. I know we went live and said Vivian Lyra Blair and Grant Feely were our final guest announcements. And then Tate reached out and said, "Hey, how come I'm not coming to this show too?" And we said, "Well,
It's typical right
we
there.
wanted you to, and we heard you were busy, but if you're still interested, yeah, of course we want you to come."
Yeah.
So Tate Fletcher is also attending Rebel Scum Con 2024,
He's the
and
best. I met him. I had him on the show like last year, and then I got to meet him in person.
he's so
The
much fun.
He is so much fun.
He's a blast.
I got to hang out with him. It was this tiny con in Fort Myers. And I got to hang out with him. And I actually was at his table because, I interviewed him the day after his episode had dropped where his character had passed.
Hmm.
So we were the first ones to interview him. And like, people were freaking out. They were like, "How the hell did you guys get him on the show?" I was
Mm,
like, he was just nice and said,
yeah.
"Okay." And then like a month later, I got to meet him in person and got to hang out with him at his table. He didn't really have a lot of people there, But he was a riot. We were cracking up. He signed a whole bunch of stuff. I made like my own custom, Paz Vizsla helmet, and I was gifting it to him because he said he never had a helmet. Like he didn't get to take any of his stuff home,
Mm.
and I was
That's
gonna
always
gift.
so crazy to me
I
too.
know
I mean, yeah, I get it. Disney, it's yours, but at the same time, it's like
they made the
can't you
character.
can't you can't just make like a second one, like a here's one for the actor for them
Yeah,
to take home too. Like I get needing to keep the master prop. I've always
yeah.
understood that. That
But just
makes
make him
perfect
a
sense. It's
secondary
something
master prop.
Lucasfilm has done from the very beginning. But at the same time, like I know it's not if you're casting it from one, it's not hard to cast it from another. But that's
Yeah,
behind the scenes, and I don't work backstage Disney, so I couldn't I couldn't help you with that. But if I did, that's something I would probably bring up. Hey, how come Tate doesn't have his own take home helmet? He should have his own take home helmet. If you're a
all of it.
stormtrooper, you should have your own take home helmet. I'm just saying. It
I know.
that
I
makes sense
remember.
to me.
I remember watching an interview with Samuel L. Jackson, and that was like one of the things. The only complaint he had about working with Lucasfilm was that he just wanted his damn purple lightsaber to take
Yep,
home with
he
him.
he wanted to take home his saber, which I think he did anyway.
Yeah, I think he did anyway.
I think he did anyway. I
He
mean,
probably fought them for
what are
it.
you gonna say? No to Samuel L. Jackson? Good luck.
Good luck. But I do want to ask, so for like the people who are watching
Yes,
now, and then for anybody who's going to later on watch the stream, I know your role with Rebel Scum is that you're the chief marketing of operations.
media. I'm
Media.
media.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief marketing or chief media operations. Um, so I do have to ask, like, how long have you been a Star Wars fan? What got you into Star Wars? What was your first like Star Wars experience?
Yes, yes. I was looking forward to this question. Okay, so I am 28. So I've been a Star Wars fan for at least 25 years
Oh wow.
because some of my very earliest memories in life were watching the original trilogy on VHS. I had the copies that you had uh, the Vader cover for A New Hope, the Stormtrooper
Mhm.
cover for Empire, and the Yoda cover for Jedi.
Jedi.
And
And
I
I
will
think,
never
one of
forget.
them is like a black and purple box.
Yes,
I own those.
yep, and I'll never forget. Hello, I'm Leonard Maltin. And him doing his interviews with George about the
Yeah.
original trilogy. So those are my earliest memories of Star Wars. Like I said, I couldn't have been any younger than 3. And that was also the year Phantom Menace was coming out. So that's probably why, we were watching Star Wars again. And it was an instant love from the second I saw it. It was my favorite thing from the moment I watched it for the first time. And then battle droids became my immediate favorite thing from the moment I watched the Phantom Menace for the first time, and they still are. I mean, if you were to come into my office here at Rebel Scum HQ, you would see lots of battle droid stuff because
That's
that's my
cool.
favorite. But I didn't get to go see Phantom Menace, of course, in theaters for the first time. My first experience in theaters was Attack of the Clones. And I will also never forget the moment of seeing the clones, specifically the one just sitting on the edge of the platform of the lat as it's descending into the Geonosis arena. Just one of the coolest, most iconic shots, in my opinion, of all time in Star Wars.
Mhm.
And I feel like that probably just cemented it that much further. And then, of course, I saw Revenge of the Sith and everything else that has graced our theater's presence since then, including any kind of show premieres when I can attend them. So like the Acolyte that just came out, got to see that in theaters for the first 2 episodes, and seeing it on the big screen was so cool, especially um, for just some of the awesome visuals that they have in the Acolyte. I mean, the planetscapes were just gorgeous, just
And
so gorgeous in that show.
I feel a lot with the prequels, like how you said it. The prequels had the coolest visual sceneries ever. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when they show in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin is landing in Mustafar and
Oh yeah.
he's telling R2 to stay back,
Yep.
like you just see a whole planet that's
And you're
covered, and
just
that's
seeing the lava popping and
lava and
exploding and
exploding.
just gases
Yes,
venting. And yeah, I mean, no shame on anything in the original trilogy too, because obviously lots of those planets, especially Bespin, are super gorgeous.
yes.
And
Or
I
Coruscant.
feel, whereas some original trilogy fans would disagree, I feel like the special editions kind of enhanced that by showing us more of planets like Bespin, even if it was computer generated or back,
Yeah,
green screens with Boba Fett walking across uh, the platforms with Han and Carbonite.
yeah.
I agree. It's not, maybe it didn't age as well as we hoped, but it still looks pretty. And I'm so glad that we got more of it rather than less.
Yeah, I will say like one of my favorite things ever of Star Wars has always been the aesthetics of Star
Yes.
Wars,
Oh
because
yes.
you can look at different scenes without having, anybody speaking on it, but like if you put a good, soundtrack behind it, like it just visually
Hmm.
is a very all the movies, as
Yeah.
much as a lot of people don't like what was it? The Last Jedi.
I was gonna bring
Visually,
that up. My
it's
what
the
we
most
say is
beautiful Star Wars
writing
film.
wise, it's not the best, but visually, as far as filming and the way it's shot,
Yes.
it's one of the best. But there's also the other stuff which we don't
Yeah.
really need to get into. But like some people do, you take a break from some things. So there was a time where, while I said I didn't miss anything coming out new with Star Wars, I wasn't always collecting Star Wars as like my main focus.
Okay.
So there was a gap where Star Wars was still around. I'm still attending everything as it's coming out. I'm still playing all the video games as they're coming out too, because LucasArts was just putting out heat after heat after heat back in the day. And man, if only we knew how good we had it back then. Um, not that we don't have good games now. We have good games now. It's just, when are we getting them? It's more
Yeah.
of a sit around and hurry up and wait for a new Star Wars game to come out, rather than, hey, there's a new Star Wars game coming out. Which they did show us some really cool new stuff about Outlaws
Yeah, I'm
uh,
pretty excited about
very
that.
recently, and I've been excited about Outlaws the whole time. We've got an era set during the original trilogy, not before, not right before, not after. This is actually during, so I'm super excited about that for one. We have a droid companion that's a battle droid, so obviously I'm super excited about that too. But it's also a BX. We're going to see a BX commando walking around with regular Star Wars citizens in a post Clone Wars era where droids are not really welcome in a lot of places, let alone
Mhm.
former battle droids. So I'm very excited to see what kind of stories they have to tell with Indy 5. And then we're getting this new axolotl puppy thing,
Yeah.
which I, I mean, we thought that they, you know, cuteness overloaded us with the porgs, or most recently, the boglings in the
Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order and Survivors series, and now we're getting a axolotl pupper.
It
Oh my
looks so
gosh.
it looks so cute. I already know that they're gonna be making little plush
Oh
dolls,
yeah. My wife is
probably.
going to be all over those.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna want one of those.
But in a good way.
In a good
It's
way.
nice. We're excited. Um so, and then the sequel trilogy is coming out, and Force Awakens came out, and it was awesome. I really liked the Force Awakens, but it didn't reignite that that burning flame of passion quite like Rogue One did. I don't know what it was about Rogue One, but I just went from like this weird passive mode of, yeah, I'm still watching Star Wars and consuming Star Wars. It's great. I love it, to Star Wars is everything again.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much been that way ever since. And it's that's also right when I got involved with Order 66. Um, and fast forward a few years, that compounded and kept building and snowballed out of control, and now here we are.
And I love it because, if it wasn't you know, how you explain the story. If it wasn't for this particular reason, then this particular reason wouldn't happen, then this one
Mm-hmm.
and this one. And it all has to do with one common denominator,
Right.
Star Wars.
Right.
And
And
and I wish that that's, you know, a lot of people with stuff that's going on now with the world, I wish people would resonate that back to, you know, what has brought all of us all together, one common denominator, and that is Star
right.
Wars. And we should
Right.
always just reflect on that and just not on anything else.
Right, exactly. And that's the other goal with Rebel ScumCon is Rebel ScumCon, and I've said this on multiple shows now, and I'm gonna keep saying it. It's a show for Star Wars fans. Period. And what is that judged by? What do I mean by Star Wars fans? Well, do you like Star Wars? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then I judge you to be a Star Wars fan. And I don't care if that means you only like one Star Wars movie. If Empire Strikes Back is your number one favorite Star Wars movie and you don't like anything else, cool. You're still a Star Wars fan, right? I mean, you still like something about Star Wars. Or if you're a Star Wars fan who only likes the prequel trilogy and nothing else, that's totally fine because it's still Star Wars and you still love Star Wars. It's just not everything has to be your favorite. And I feel like
Yeah.
too many of us get caught up on that of I have to love everything or I have to love um, every book or comic that I read that says Star Wars slapped across the front of it. And that's not the case. I mean, not everybody loves the old Ewok cartoon, but it's still there for the fans who love it.
I do.
Right. And the Ewok cartoon is fun to watch. I'm rewatching Droids right now, actually, and
Okay.
it holds up better than when I watched it when I was younger, or at
I
least
just love the theme
I
song
feel
to
like it
the
does.
Ewoks cartoon show.
I feel like the Ewoks theme is cursed.
Yeah, it is pretty cursed.
But it still has its charm, and like you
Yeah.
said, you love it, and that is okay.
I know,
There's
I get people that judge me all the time. They're like, "Why do you like the Ewok so much?" Because once in a while, I'll wear like I bought this like humongous Ewok purse that I got from GameStop, and I'll
yeah,
have people that look at me and they'll be like, "Why do you like the Ewoks?" And I'm like, "They are furry, cute
yeah,
looking bears that like
yeah.
to eat people."
You know who else? Like, not just a Star Wars mega fan, but someone who's a big time actor in Star Wars. You know who else really loves Ewoks? Sam Witwer. Sam
Hmm.
Witwer is an avid Ewok fan. In fact, he once crashed an interview I was conducting with Atomic Mass Games at Star Wars Celebration because that's when they first announced Ewoks for their game Star Wars Legion, which is a
Yeah.
miniatures tabletop game, which we will also be playing at Rebel ScumCon, by the way. There will be a Legion tournament held at Rebel ScumCon, as well as a Star Wars X-Wing miniatures tournament, a Star
Oh
Wars
wow.
Unlimited tournament, which is the new Star Wars trading card game, and it's super fun. If you haven't played it yet, it's kind of like Magic Commander mode meets Star Wars.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar at all with Magic the Gathering and that format, it's kind of like that, but Star Wars, with a few other tweaks here and there. But that's the best way I can describe it. And of course, there's also going to be some in canon universe gameplay at Rebel Scum Con. We will have Sabak played at Rebel Scum Con, hosted by Sabak for Charity. So, in case you're not familiar with them, they are a Star Wars fan organization based out of Florida who
Hmm.
partner with various charitable events and attend various conventions and teach people how to play Sabak and also hold sabak tournaments at these events. So they will be partnering with us, and we will also be partnering with them in Ronald McDonald House in the Dallas area to raise awareness, take donations, and more for them. And they will be hosting a charity tournament with prizes hosted by various sponsors for Rebel Scum Con, including BigBadToyStore.com, Gentle Giant Ltd., and Madness Games and Comics, which is a local comic shop and game shop in our area that I've been attending for about as long as I've been going to conventions for, actually. I've been shopping with them for decades too. So
I'm actually excited that Gentle Giant's going to be there because my toy room right now is under construction, but
hmm
I don't know if you've seen, like, if you go into like any of older stuff that I have on my Instagram account, I have an extensive collection of Gentle Giant.
I don't.
So
I can't say if Gentle Giant's going to have a booth for sure themselves or not. I couldn't remember if they were able to get the logistics of that in time for year one, just because of when we started approaching them for Rebel Scum Con. Their schedule
mhm,
had kind of already been set for the year, but they are at least providing price support and
that's
helping sponsor
awesome.
the event in the meantime for year one, and plan to hopefully have a physical booth on year two.
That's
So, and
awesome.
we're far enough out for that one to actually
Like,
get
be able
that
to book
properly
it.
planned out this time. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they could make it for a physical appearance for year one, but they're at least sponsoring in prizes and all kinds of other stuff too.
That's
Which
good.
we've already gotten prizes from Gentle Giant. In fact, I need to upload those to my media team so they can share that around too, because we've already been uploading the stuff sent by BigBadToyStore.com. They
Hmm.
sent a lot of prizes in, and I still have to go collect the ones from Madness, which should be soon. So,
Speaking about Sabak, um,
hmm
when we attended MegaCon, they were playing it there,
yes,
and
that was Sabak for
yeah.
charity, actually.
So my boyfriend's a huge he loves poker, he's also a poker dealer,
It's funny you
and
should mention that.
he was watching Sabak, and he was like talking to some of the guys there, and then he was telling one of I don't know who he was speaking to, but he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm a poker dealer. He was like, I do this, this, and this, and they were like explaining to him as if they were explaining it in poker what
Sure.
Sabak was.
Yep.
And like the whole ride home, he just kept looking at me, and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I think I want to learn how to play." I was like, "What?" And he goes,
Well,
"Yeah." He's like, "The way that they broke it down to me, he was like, it's like poker but for Star Wars."
exactly. That's
Yeah.
pretty much exactly what it is. And, if he hasn't learned yet and he wants to, they're going to be set up at Rebel ScumCon in our vendor room. They will have open tables available for anybody to come and learn. It doesn't cost anything to do that. I mean, they will, of course, be taking on site donations for uh, Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
But as far as, a paid learn how to play, it isn't. So feel free to just anytime while the vendor room is open, be at their booth and play a hand of Sabak. They will also, of course, be having a tournament on Saturday. And like I said, it's funny you mentioned poker. There will also be a charity poker tournament, I believe, Friday. That's up on the event schedule as well on rebelscumconventions.com. All of our
Ooh.
panels and, or at least most of our panels and events have already been posted. I don't know if we're going to have any last minute ones yet for sure. We've talked about a couple things, but um, the main schedule is up on the website now, as well as some breakdown details on those events and panels. And we even have the great pleasure of having some of our panels hosted by other Star Wars influencers from outside the RebelScum.com umbrella. Because, like I said earlier, while this is a convention open to, all Star Wars fans, we also want other Star Wars fans involved in making the event happen.
Yeah.
This event is meant to bring Star Wars fans together, to be a space for Star Wars fans to feel welcome at, regardless of what they like in Star Wars or where they come from in the world. So if you're wanting to attend a really cool and awesome Star Wars convention or Star Wars fan convention with an awesome Star Wars fan experience, um, just surrounded by awesome Star Wars fans, then come on out to Rebel Scum Con and see if you can be involved in some of the events and things that are taking place there. Because, like I said, we have some who are. And while that schedule is kind of set right now for year one, I mean, like I said, we're already planning year two, and I most certainly don't mind sharing more panel space and more event space with more fun Star Wars creative fans like myself and the others already participating.
That's awesome. I like that. I'm like I said, I'm super excited about attending it. Like I already have all my plaques of like signatures that I want signed have already arrived. So I've been like planning out my whole morning, what I'm doing, getting there immediately. And I love the fact that I'm going to be meeting up with, like some friends of mine who live in Texas that I've never met before,
Oh
but
yeah.
we became friends on social media because of Star Wars. So it's going to be a lot of fun just meeting these people like face to face and having that face to face interaction and like geeking out about being at a Star Wars convention. And for me, I've always loved going to the ones outside of Florida because Florida is getting dominated all the time with cons.
Yeah, it
There's a
is.
con every
It,
month here, which
there's
is great.
here too. There's actually cons pretty often in Dallas as well.
And that's what I've been hearing. And like this will be, it's my second time going to Texas, but the first time I went, I was really little. So, and then the last time I was in Texas, I was only there for a 2.5 hour layover.
Mm.
So, like to actually set foot in Texas and like to get out of the airport and to be around that whole atmosphere, like I'm so excited. But
Well,
yeah,
we're really excited to have you out.
thank you. But I
Thank
do
you.
have to I do want to ask, since you
Yes.
brought up the acolyte earlier,
Yes.
what do you think about the first two episodes?
I liked them. I mean, they to me they followed the rules of what we know of Star Wars. They seem to understand. Okay, these are lightsabers. We have Jedi. We have um, a mysterious bad guy that seems to use some kind of aspect of the dark side of the Force, and we're about to be introduced to some new Force worshipping cult or religious organization, depending on how you want to look at it, which is something the High Republic has actually been expanding upon for a good few years now. And I think a lot of Star Wars fans who haven't really delved too much into the comics of the High Republic or the books of the High Republic era have been missing out on, because they've introduced some really cool, not just world building, so to speak. Let's say galaxy building because it's Star Wars.
Mhm.
Um, with just more force worshipping groups, and how very different and also how similar they can be. A great example would be there was a festival held in the city of Jeddah, like we saw in Rogue One.
Yeah,
Callback. And they were having a festival that the Jedi Order, as well as other religious groups, were invited to kind of come together and I forget, but do some kind of let's have our cultures meet and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. So I'm excited to see more of that in the Acolyte, especially since we know that there were less and less and less of these going into kind of the not High Republic era, because that's where we're at now, but the Republic era as we know it. I guess Twilight of the Republic era.
yeah,
Um, and of course, even less because almost all Force worshipping re- groups and religions were pretty much wiped from the face of the galaxy by the time of the Empire and during the time of the Empire. So getting to see more of that and how some of those cultures and people affect the Star Wars universe as we know it, or led to some of the things in the Star Wars universe as we know it, excites me, because I've always loved more world building or galaxy building. And like I said from the beginning, it seems like they already understand the rules because lightsabers and stuff seem to work like they should so far. Um, I loved seeing the clear de-evolution of technology as we know it in that Twilight of the Republic era versus this, later High Republic era, seeing the Tread Federation using smaller ships, but also still trying to cut costs and cut corners as we know they would by
Yeah.
having the mechanics over astromechs and other droid laborers, which, adding mechanics to, Star Wars screens like that in live action for the first time was also really, really cool. I mean, you can kind of say that's probably what the space troopers and other operators were in the background in like the original trilogy when the Falcons first docking in on the Death Star for the first time, but we I don't think we had that title for them at that time.
No.
And we hadn't seen or gotten to know characters. I mean, we didn't really get to know the other guy so much, but we didn't really get to see characters who do that kind of thing up close like we did with this show too, which was another really cool thing that I liked. So no, I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, I'm
Especially
excited for tomorrow's episode just to get more of like a character development, and then we get to see,
yeah,
what is it, Kelnaka? We get to see her.
Kelnaka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
that ending scene where you just see him like, ugh, and then like keep walking, I'm like,
just grunting, chase the raiders away. Yeah, I'm excited. We finally get a live action Wookiee Jedi.
a Wookiee Jedi.
It's gonna be so great, and of
I
course
can see him like
it's
wielding his
Jonas
lightsaber. Yeah,
again.
it's Jonas. Oh, of
Jonas
course.
is well, not reprised. Jonas is now Kalnaka. They're
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Kalnaka. So
My question is, are we ever gonna see a Kelnaka and Chewbacca in the same universe? Or is they're gonna have like two screens where they have to play each other or
I
film
mean,
separately?
given the timeline and the age that uh Chewie tells Han he is in Solo, because this is
Probably
100 years prior to Phantom Menace, or technically it's 100 years, not even prior to that. It says the fall of the Republic, right? So
not.
technically that's Order 66, and then the immediate moment of Sidious declaring the Galactic Empire. I would mark that as the fall of the Republic. So let's say it's 100 years before that point, unless stated otherwise. Because I mean, Phantom Menace is obviously not the actual fall, right? Maybe in the background, because that's when Palpatine actually became Chancellor, but I don't know if that really
No.
counts.
Revenge of the Sith would be the fall of the Empire.
I would say I would agree. I think it's Revenge of the Sith. So it's 100 years before Revenge of the Sith. Chewie is over 100 by Solo. We know he's well over 100 by Solo, which is only
And
10
Solo's
years
like,
after that.
yeah.
So is it within the realm of possibilities? Yes, it is within the realm of possibilities just because of how the timeline works.
Yeah.
Whether or not like they were buddies, or if maybe it was just like Chewie was a pup at the time, that's possible. But I mean, I'm excited for the potential of what that could be too, because it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see that character reaction. That's so cool.
Plus, I'm excited to finally see like who is, the mysterious character with, that basically
Oh,
all
Tiflo
black.
Ren.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Yesterday I was sitting on the couch and I did like a deep dive of the Knights of Ren. Like I went into a lore that I wish I did not dive into, and I was researching and reading stuff for over 2.5 hours yesterday. And when they were talking about the first Ren, I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna be cool.
It could be him. It really could be.
Him.
I mean, and it's like George always said, Star Wars is like poetry, it rhymes. And even though there's newer people working for Lucasfilm and making new projects for Lucasfilm, regardless how we feel of those individuals or not, or what those individuals have or have not said, doesn't matter right now. Visually, there are clear roots to Kylo Ren's helmet there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's blatantly obvious. The silhouette is almost exactly the same to Kylo Ren's helmet specifically. and the Knights of Ren were avid devotees to the dark side, which they don't call the dark side; they call the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but they also don't claim to be Sith either, which we have not once heard the word Sith in this series, by the way, at least not to my knowledge.
No, we have
Um,
not.
and nobody other than May, as far as we know, has seen a red lightsaber blade. So there's also that, or at least in a very long time, um, because they didn't really face any or too many dark side force users, at least in the High Republic era, as I've seen. I mean, I've only delved into it so much. I haven't read any of the actual books yet, but I've mostly stuck to the comics, and they're pretty cool so far.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah,
I
Sith
have
Sith
I
hasn't
have
really
so
been
many.
mentioned,
No, it hasn't. And I have
which
so
is
many
good.
theories based off of this show that I've
Hmm.
literally been like writing them on different notepads. So
Yeah,
then, and I've been dating them as to like when and like
yeah.
I've been like taking pictures. So then when it does become true, I can be
It's
like,
like,
look,
ha! This is where I called it.
I
Yeah,
called
that's
it.
awesome.
It's time stamped. I called this. And like
Yeah,
I haven't really told much to anybody. Like I posted one on Instagram where I had like some assumption, but we haven't really like dived deep into their characters yet. So
right.
that's why, like I'm not throwing it out there to the universe, but it's one of those things I have, wrote down, time
Hmm.
stamped, and I'm just like, okay, as soon as it gets released, I can just, brag.
Well, and since we're already on the subject of timelines and theories and dark side users, there's also, of course, a lot of the fan chatter for the potential of us seeing Darth Plagueis in the
Yes.
Acolyte, which, to be quite honest, is something that would be very exciting. If this has some kind of link to Darth Plagueis, or maybe it could be something as this is just another isolated dark side force user trying to begin his or her rise within the Star Wars galaxy, much like Plagueis and Palpatine had their own machinations. I mean, Plagueis had his master before him, Tenebris, and I've also heard some fan chatter of, "Oh, what if we see Tenebris in this? That would be super cool too."
I'm like
You
a
know,
young Plagueis.
a younger
Like,
Plagueis.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and or maybe it could end up as some, like I said, with the isolated thing, where Teeth Loren and May are upstarts in their own Sith lineage, because we know there's multiple even after Plagueis and Palpatine, or Palpatine and Dooku, or Palpatine and Maul, and Palpatine and Vader, and so on and so forth, because they all keep starting their own and trying to take power for themselves, which is kind of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, it would be kind of interesting if they're isolated to get like a maybe like a post-credit scene of like Plagueis and Palpatine talking about this other dark side force user failing in the end or something, and oh well, here's where they messed up and exposing themselves. Luckily they didn't expose that the Sith still exist, because as far as the Republic is concerned, they don't exist anymore, because even Mace says in the Phantom Menace there hasn't been any mention or appearance of the Sith in 1,000 years.
Well,
So
also
we
they
know the
hid
Sith can't actually be revealed in this show, or at least not publicly.
well, they also hid, a lot of those archive documents in the Jedi Temple. They
Yes,
didn't want to have any of that stuff out there
right.
because, not to reference, I hate to reference like a horror movie into
Hmm.
this, but like for instance, Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy
Okay.
Krueger.
Yep.
When you watch Jason versus Freddy,
Hmm.
they stated they got rid of every record whatsoever of Freddy Krueger because you didn't allow it to continue to have some sort of growth
Right.
where people were going to keep talking about it and it eventually was going to build into its own cell. So
Sure.
I feel like the Jedi probably thought that by us not speaking anymore of the Sith and wiping away any chronological,
Information.
memories or
Yep.
information, you know,
Past a certain point.
past a certain point, people
Yeah.
would just forget and it would
Right.
just be something of the past. And I
Well,
feel like
and
that's what's
like how much of the Jedi, how that happened for their culture by the time of the Age of the Empire. Not even 20 years in to the original trilogy era, many people across the galaxy had already forgotten about the Jedi and their
Hmm.
abilities, and it had just turned into just rumors of, you know, mysticism and legend. And that was a very, very short time frame versus 1,000 or even 100 years, which is the time gaps we are now working with.
Yeah.
And we also have evidence within the Star Wars timeline that those records can be erased and or falsified, because Dooku, on his way out of the Jedi Temple, of course, deleted Kamino and any record of it, as well as a lot of the records involving Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas, um, and his involvement with that conspiracy, and as well as official Republic records and things that he and Palpatine helped eliminate. So yeah, that is totally plausible that maybe we do see Sith, and it can just be written as well. We deleted those records because we know it can happen, which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily the best way to approach it writing wise. I mean, I can already see the angry posts and comment sections on social media now if that's the route it goes, because I mean it's pretty predictable behavior at this point. But um at the same time, is it possible? Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like that. And it's funny. I was talking to a coworker the other day, and they were asking me because they were watching The Acolyte as well, and they have zero to knowledge whatsoever of Star Wars. They saw the trailer, they heard all the news of people like losing their crap, and they were like, you know what, I want to watch this and
Yeah.
see. And like today, she was asking me, you know, May's character said something about the Jedi,
Yep.
and she asked me, she's like, "Are the Jedi's actually really good people?" She was like, "Because."
Depends on who you
They
ask.
and I said that to her. I'm like, it depends on who you ask,
Yeah.
because to some people, the Jedi have done some really messed up stuff to them. But
Yeah.
then to some other people, they see them as a guide of light,
Right.
and they're that safety net.
And that's what they're meant to be. I mean, that's always what they were meant to be. And to many in both real life and to many within the context of Star Wars lore, they do. But yeah, to that point, there's also many who see them as nothing but oppressors, or cruel subjugators, or a corrupt um, agency that just does the will of the Republic's Galactic Senate, which was why, characters like Count Dooku fell out of the Order, because
Or
he was
Barasafi.
disillusioned by the corruption he saw. And there was corruption within the Jedi Order. It wasn't the um, gilded organization that it's been made out to be. And it's also not the horrible evil organization, though, that those like Palpatine would make it out to be as well. But then again, looking at it from someone like Palpatine's perspective, he comes from a group, he comes from a culture and civilization that is essentially illegal
Hmm.
in the galaxy. And so that is technically religious persecution, regardless if you agree with the Sith values or not. It is.
Hmm.
So in that regard, the Jedi, who are an uplifted religious organization, are in a sense offenders to the Sith. And is that fair? I mean, that just depends on how you view the geopolitics of Star Wars, of course, but I mean, that is what it is at the end of the day. So whether or not you think the Jedi are absolutely right, or just the absolute good guys, well, they're forces of light. That doesn't always translate to objectively good,
Yeah.
even if we want it to be, or if it's supposed to be. That's not always the case, which is kind of what the Acolyte is also shaking up, but in a more direct way through characters like May, who, from one hand, you've got, why am I blanking on her name? Her sister, um,
Osha.
Osha, thank you. And Osha, she got taken up by the Jedi. She saw them as saviors because she literally got rescued. But then May sees these people who, probably from her perspective, attacked her home and took her sister or killed her sister or whatever because, you know, we're, well, we're supposedly going to see the more details on their culture and their upbringing real soon. Possibly in episode 3, maybe even in episode 4. I've
I
heard
hope
possibly in
so.
episode 3, so that's what I'm looking forward to there. But there's probably a reason the Jedi came down on them if they are a more coven type practicers of the Force, much like the Night Sisters were.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
good.
I do have a couple, like two more questions to ask you. I know you're a very busy man.
Absolutely.
So because I see you're wearing a Boba Fett shirt.
I am. I
Who
like
is
Boba
your
Fett.
favorite Star Wars character?
My favorite Star Wars character. Oh, that answer has changed a few times over the years. But I would say my number one favorite Star Wars character, as a specific character, would probably be Grand Admiral Thrawn. But as far as like if I could generalize it, it would
Yeah.
be the B1 battle droid personality as a whole.
Okay.
If like that would probably be my actual favorite, but as far as like an individual person, it's Thrawn. I have
Oh,
admired that character for so long.
you must have loved seeing the episodes of him in Tales of the Empire.
I did. I very much did. Yes. And now we got an animated Admiral Thrawn in uniform, and we we've even seen cosplays of that already. In fact, I got some live footage of one of our Admiral Thrawns in the 501st in Star Garrison here in North Texas at Fan Expo 2024, and I believe he'll be trooping at REBELSCUM Con as well.
Oh boy, I'm excited.
And there's going to be a really awesome 501st and just the club's setup in general. I mean, it's not going to be quite what we've covered at MegaCon in the past, and
Mhm.
I mean, where our goal is to hopefully get to that point with Rebel Scum Con sooner rather than later in the upcoming years, because we absolutely love what the clubs, including Fear Squad and the other ones that are over there that aren't over here yet, have built over there. And they've done some, I mean, breathtaking work, to say the least. It's so impressive. I know we've done some cool video coverage of it, guys, and if you've seen it, you know it's cool, but it's one thing to see something like that, and I know because you've been to MegaCon. It's
Yeah.
another thing to experience something
Experience
like
it.
that in person. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
It's
so
so
cool.
much fun.
And that's the vibe we aim to catch at Rebel Scum Con, is the vibe of when you're in what they call it. It was
You're
Lost.
immersing into a fun universe.
I don't know. I'm blanking on it, but you know the village I'm talking about. It's it's really cool. And then what was your other question for me?
So my last question for you is, being someone who is running a con,
Yes.
what advice would you give to anyone, later down in the future if they see, a little kid who's watching this, or, a little kid who goes to your con for the first time, and, later on he becomes an adult and is like, you know what? I want to do my own little Star Wars con, or, I want to be a mega, con runner. What advice would you give to anyone, um, that's would want to get into your field, especially if it's a little kid later on in life?
Absolutely. That is a great question. And it's funny. I have asked questions like this, which kind of led me to the career field I'm at. And that goes back to attending some of those smaller cons and just picking the brains of people there, or picking the brains of even some of the celebrity guests that were there. Because at the time, I wanted to go into voice acting about 10 years ago, exactly, actually. And I was right out of high school, and I knew I wanted to at least do something in entertainment because I was inspired by people like Peter Cullen um, and of course many other Star Wars celebrities like Mark Hamill and Harrison and um, Hayden. Hayden was another one. Ahmed Best. People who were able to create great joy, but also um, get past a lot of, what's the word, trial, because
Hmm.
the people like that who are very very well beloved now and should have been well beloved the whole time, in my opinion,
Yeah.
um, haven't always been. And that is, if you love something, find whatever you can to be involved in that. That's what I did. I just started looking for ways to be involved with my favorite things, which was Star Wars, Transformers, and etc. And I just started going to conventions, and I just started um, going online and trying to talk to people, or talk to people in person and just be involved in things. Talking to other creatives like us and seeing what kind of routes of education there are, because like I said earlier, I went to college for a degree in radio television, and that was also out of, well, if I want to be in entertainment and I maybe want to do this, some of these guys started out in radio or hosting small shows on other platforms. So if I'm already going to college, let's focus that way, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, Rogue One came out, and it just made me get involved with this local shop, which helped push me to do just what I wanted to do already, which was be a fan and make something. And so I started making content with these guys. And then we just started doing events and public things and hosting live shows. And all of that's been interactive. So I get to be out here and I get to talk about the thing I love with people like you. And I think that's really all it is just expose yourself and your passion for what you love,
Hmm.
and just keep working at it. Just keep working at it. You can't stop. You can't let people just tell you no and be done with it. You need to just keep working at your passion, make something with it that's reflective of yourself, and just go out and try to make friends. Try to make friends within the community. Approach these other content creators. Approach these celebrity guests when you're at that con. Don't be shy, and ask
Yeah.
people questions. And ask, hey, how can I be involved with this organization going forward in the future? Because maybe you're watching this right now, and um, you're seeing the excitement for Rebel Scum Con, for example, and maybe that's what you want to do, and you're like, I want to be involved with conventions. Well, where do you live? What kind of conventions are in your area? And maybe start with their volunteer page and see where that goes from there, because you're going to meet all kinds of people just by volunteering at a con. And you could meet that voice actor who you've been admiring, or that screen actor who you've been admiring, and maybe they have that special tip or trick of how they did it, and they can share that with you. But for me, it was, I just really love it, and I just try to share that as much as possible with as many people as I can, and try to be as nice and friendly to those that I meet. And that's taken me this far in life, and I hope it takes me farther, because I just, at the end of the day, want to keep being, you know, friends with other fans and
Yeah.
doing cool fan content. That's what keeps me going. And
And
that's
that's
what led to this.
exactly how I am. Like I've been to a lot of cons and I've had people walk up to me and, you know, about 65% of the time I don't know who they are. Like when they tell me their names,
Mhm.
I usually always tell people, like, "Tell me your Instagram handle name, and then I'll know exactly who you are."
Yeah.
But I've always been very approachable because at the end of the day, like, I made friends. I have these friends because of Star Wars.
Mhm.
And, being a content creator, like, I have these people who are actually intrigued with the stuff that I do, and they love following me going to conventions. And sometimes they think I'm crazy because I'm going to different states, to meet these actors that I love, but they love it. And I have people reaching out to me all the time, and they'll tell me, like, they live vicariously through me, and
Yep.
they just love my passion for what I have. Cause, like you, I'm going to be 37 this year. I've loved Star Wars since I was 6. And mind you, I started watching Star Wars and I didn't even understand it because English was not my first language. I visually fell in love with Star Wars.
Mhm.
And once I actually got to learn how to speak English, it was a wrap. Like, Star Wars became my whole entire life. My
Yeah.
house is based off of Star Wars. I'm completely tattooed in Star Wars. My car looks like a stormtrooper. My
Is it
medical
the
card.
white Kia Soul?
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's funny because, like, my boyfriend's like best friend who they play fantasy football has like a wrapping company.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got the car, they were like, "No, please let us put the grill of the stormtrooper on your hood."
You
And
got
I'm
to.
like, "No, dude, come on." And they were like, "We'll do it for free. We'll make sure it looks hella professional." I'm like, "No, dude, because then everybody's gonna know that that's my freaking car."
That there's also that. It's I've done that too where it's do I put a bunch of stickers on my car or no? I still have some on my car, but I don't know.
Yeah, like, I
Like
have
do I
some
do I
stickers, like,
wanna
in the back.
yeah. I don't
Like,
know.
back in the days, I used to have, like, a Toyota Corolla, and on the back of the Corolla, I had this massive Darth Vader helmet stencil.
That's
And, like,
awesome.
people at work would text me random days, and they're like, "Are you on University and Pine Island?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" "We just saw your car pass by us." They're like, "We saw it because of the Darth Vader." And I'm like, "Crap, these people know
Yep.
my damn car." But yeah, like,
Oh, yeah.
you have no idea. Like, I've been so excited about this. You guys know every time you guys post something, I'm resharing it. You know,
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
I'm
you.
beyond excited about this. And, like, the amount of celebs you guys have on there, it's freaking astonishing
It's a
because of the
lot.
fact that it hits every genre of
Everything.
fans.
We
Everything.
we have a little bit of something from 77, the
Yeah.
original film, all the way up to current even stuff that hasn't even come out yet. We have a
Yeah.
guest on our list right now, and we can't even talk about his character at all, which is really interesting for a Star Wars convention.
Oh, you're talking
To
about
bring a
Dwayne?
guest for a Star Wars character, we don't know who it is. We can't talk about it, and we can't even ask about it either because they can't answer.
Yeah.
And but what we can say is he played the feral predator in Prey, which if you
Yep.
haven't seen that, I mean,
Gotta watch it.
you should. If you haven't watched any of the Predator franchise, I mean, I would go back and watch the rest first because we have another Predator on our guest list, which is Carrie Jones, Black
Mhm.
Chrysanthemum, which I wanted to circle back to, since we got on a Wookiee conversation earlier. We do have a few Wookiees at Rebel ScumCon, and that is Black Chrysanthemum himself and Roar. No, not Rory. Um, why am I blanking on his name? Uh, Ross Sandbridge.
Yeah,
That's why. That's why
I
I
was
almost said
looking real
Rory because
quick at your
Rory's last name is Ross.
yeah.
So Ross Sandbridge played one of the Wookiees on Kessel in the Solo film, but his probably more well-known role would be
Snoke.
Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yeah.
So we
And, like, I
also have characters from the sequel trilogy era. Not very many,
yeah,
not as many as I'd like, but we have some from the sequel trilogy era. And before people just start blowing me up saying, "What are you talking about? Andy Serkis is Snoke." Andy Serkis is Snoke, yes, but
but
so
the
is
body.
Ross Sandbridge. Ross Sandbridge also played a good amount of the physical body of Snoke, while Andy primarily voiced and mocapped the character.
Yeah.
Um, for more of the full body movement shots, though, that was Ross. And
Yeah.
Ross is a very kind and lovely person to have a conversation with, despite being so large. I mean, he is
Well,
very tall.
most of those actors who are that tall, they
They're
are
gentle
the most
giants.
they're gentle giants.
Yeah.
Like, I've met Kerry Jones. I met him in a con that was in Orlando, and mind you, like, I'm not one to speak about, like, people being so tall because 'cause I'm only 5'2",
Mm.
but, like, meeting him, I was just like, "Oh my god, you're so tall."
Yep.
Meeting most of the Star Wars, the Darth Vader actors, all of them, I've had to look up to them. Even with Tate Fletcher, like, I'm like,
Yep.
"You're
Tate's a
tall."
big guy.
Tate's a big guy, and, like,
Tate's a big guy.
I have a photo of me and him, like, next to each other, and I felt like a little tiny kid next to him.
They don't call him the heavy infantry Mando because he's wide. They call him the heavy infantry Mando because he's huge.
Dude,
He is massive.
massive,
He's got
and he
an
works out like a
awesome
beast.
presence, but he's also, yeah, just one of the sweetest guys ever.
Yeah,
Um, and you'll get to meet him and many others at Rebel ScumCon, and we have lots of awesome experiences planned with all of those guests. And I guess this is probably where we'll wrap up.
yeah.
Is we have, like I said, around 44, 45 Star Wars celebrity guests from 77 up to stuff that's not even out yet, coming from all over the saga. And many of them have lots of photo op experiences you can pre-order now or purchase during the event. A lot of team up photo op experiences. In fact, we're adding more. If they're not up already, they will be within the next day or so, I've been told. And that is the photo ops with Tate Fletcher now that he's been added to the roster. So there will be team ups with Tate, uh, and Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. That was one he
Oh,
and they
wow.
specifically requested. So you can get a photo with the heavy infantry Mando Paz Vizsla and Din Djarin himself at Rebel Scum Con, or you can get individual photos with some of these guys. You can just do Tate Fletcher, you can just do a photo op with Brendan Wayne, or just do a photo op with Lateef Crowder, or
Yeah.
many, many others, and many other combinations there in between, as well as lots of autograph opportunities within that same way of thinking.
So to wrap it up, are
Hmm.
you guys going to be announcing, like, as we get closer to the con, like the time schedules for all the photo ops, and
Yes,
like what times they're doing signings and stuff for, like,
yes,
specifically for people, or maybe you're just going for like a 1 day event?
yes, yes. That will be
Okay.
up soon. In fact, uh, part of that was, just delayed in part of us getting the event schedule up because the photo op company makes their schedule based off of our panel and event schedule. So that's part of why it wasn't up yet. It's because
Okay.
we most recently finalized our event and panel schedule, which is now up on Rebel Scum Conventions with an S.com.
Okay.
And while you guys are planning your trip and preparing for those autographs, whether those are through pre-orders or this is who I want to hit on this day. And again, autograph signers will only be available Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and not all of them will be available all 3 days. Some of them will be available for only 2 days. Some of those could be this person's available Friday, Saturday, this other person's available Saturday, Sunday. And again, that schedule is going up very, very soon. And um, another thing you can do that we tried to help out with was, your photo ops and planning those as well by pre-ordering those. And you will of course be given times for that stuff after that schedule has been made, as far as I've been told, because we have a very professional company working with us for photo ops. It is Epic Experiences.
Thanks.
So if you're not familiar with that name, in case you go to conventions fairly regularly, Epic Experiences is one of those photo op companies that attend lots and lots of different conventions and handle lots of different photo op experiences for various fans, such as, oh, I don't know, Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. They've done many photo ops for guys like that. Maybe at conventions like MegaCon earlier this year, they were the ones
Mhm.
handling their photo op experience, and a few others. Um, And so we've partnered with them to handle our photo op experience, and they're really excited about it, and we're really excited about it. And while we're speaking about savings and preparing costs, our hotel room rate discount was supposed to expire on the 5th. We got it extended to June 14th.
Okay.
So that room rate is still going to be $139.99 a night, and free parking while you're staying there, which is awesome because they usually charge about $18 a day for their parking, and their room rate is, well, I don't know. It's going to be more expensive than $140 a night if you book after the 14th. So for those of you who are still finishing up your travel plans from out of town, just know that that hotel room block is almost filled up, and the room rate discount is about to expire, and it's going to be at least 40-50 bucks more expensive than if you book through the website per day. So
Okay.
for those of you traveling out of town, make sure you check that out first. That way that way we save you a little bit more money, so you have more, or an extra autograph to pick up, or an extra photo op experience to make a memory with, or find that special art piece, because there's lots of really cool and talented artists attending our event too. And I mean, just some of the beautiful work that we've seen through our vendors and our artists, and just people who are coming and setting up and being involved at this event, it's a lot. It's really exciting, and
Mhm.
it's like, this is awesome, and we know that there's more fans like this out there. So we're already looking at possibly expanding after year one, and that way we can have more talented Star Wars fans from all around the world involved come year two or year three, even whichever comes first.
Whichever comes first.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, I just want to say thank you so much. For anybody who was tuning in, Rebel Scum Con is going to be on June 27th through the 30th in good old Dallas, Texas.
That's
I'm
right,
super excited.
Dallas,
I'm like this close to buying probably a cowboy hat just to like
Texas.
walk around and like maybe buy some like cowboy boots and spurs. I don't know.
While
We'll
while
see.
you're here, we'll also have to have you visit Bucky's, of course, because
Yes, I've never been to a
it's
Bucky's.
part of
I
the
want to go so
pilgrimage.
bad.
You come to Texas, believe it or not, you do not receive a firearm as soon as you enter Texas. That's not something we do here. Um, you have to legally, do that like everybody else. You don't get your cowboy hat and your boots as soon as you come in either. You got to go get those too, but we have lots of places you can get those at. And you got to go to Bucky's. You got to have Dr. Pepper. Right now we have this flavor called creamy coconut. I always want to call it coconut castaway. Um, but creamy coconut, oh my God, it's the best. So
I'll have to
amazing.
try that.
It's
We
so
do have
good.
one person that asked real quick before we log off. Will next
Absolutely.
year be the same time for the show in June?
Oh, will next year be the same time for the show in June? I cannot answer that yet. That I cannot answer yet. Hopefully is the best I can say. Is hopefully it'll be around the same time in June. It, of course, depending on like how attendance looks, will affect, like, should we move it, past 4th of July, or maybe a
Mhm.
little bit further back in June. And also it depends on venue space and availability there too.
Yeah.
But optimally and hopefully, probably yes, because we're not actually going to be on a major travel holiday like the 4th of July, even though we're the weekend before. Um, and there's not usually major sporting events and championships at the end of June, luckily. So
I know.
that's another thing we gotta weigh too. And that, as far as like when it will be next year, that's pretty much all I can say on it as far, because that's really all the information I have so far, other than we've already started talking to, setting up next year as
Anyway.
well.
Well, for anybody who wants to follow you, where throw your plugs at now so we can be able to
Absolutely.
find you.
So, Rebel Scum Con on pretty much every social media platform, whether that just be Rebel Scum Con on its own or Rebel Scum Con official. We're on Instagram, Meta, or Facebook, whatever you want to call it, X or Twitter, whatever you want to call that, TikTok or TokTik, whatever you want to call that, and no, not Patreon, Discord. We're also on Discord. And like I said earlier, when I talked about Discord, just look up Rebel Scum Con, or we have links on various places, including our website, I believe. So uh, you can find our social media channels through our website, Rebel Scum Conventions with an S.com, as well as any information about the convention itself, the event, panel, workshop, and demonstration schedule is up on Rebel Scum Conventions now. The current and complete, or most up to date complete, guest list is also on rebelscumconventions.com, as well as any pre orders for autographs, photo ops, hotel rooms, and any other things like that that you might need to make are through Rebel Scum Conventions through an S. On the guests, just click on any guest image and it should reroute you to Epic to where you can make those pre-orders for your photo ops and your autographs and what have you. If you're VIP, you'll have your own special line. We have a lounge area in the pool patio area where you guys get to hang out. And of course, VIP gets you all 4 days. And event pass gets you all 4 days. Weekend pass gets you Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's daily passes, but honestly, I think if you're coming to Rebel Scum Con, anybody who's attending, not to toot our own horn, should probably want a weekend pass at the very least, because especially just with some of the experiences we have planned out, some of those compounding experiences, you're not really going to want to miss a day, especially if that's something you're specifically excited about, like the Demetrius Bistrevsky lightsaber classes he's doing. There's one Friday, one Saturday, and one Sunday. So if that's something that interests you, learning lightsaber wielding from Darth Vader, which is just part of attending the event, it's not something you pay extra for when you get there. It's just you have your pass, you're in the convention, cool, this is something you can do while you're here. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. It's a lot.
I know. I see it in your
Find
face
us on
how
all those
excited
things.
you are.
Find us on all those things. Of course, there's also regular updates on rebelscum.com, the rebelscum.com official social media channels, which are also on all of those platforms I previously mentioned, either as rebelscum.com or rebelscum official, which it's rebelscum.official on Instagram. And if you're watching this and you're a Star Wars influencer and we haven't even talked yet about you attending too, shoot us a message. Shoot us a message on a social media platform or email press at rebelscumconventions.com, and maybe we can get you in and hooked up with some press passes like Miss Nilda here. So, come on out. If you're a Star Wars fan, we want you to attend.
Well, Bobby, I want to thank you so much. I know you're busy and I know you guys have one hell of a show to kick off in 2.5 weeks. And again, like I stated, I'm beyond excited. I'm like I said, I'm excited I'm coming to Texas, and I'm excited that I'm going to be a part of this like Star Wars fan con. And it's just going to be, I know I'm going to have to come up with like a backup battery, an extra camera, because I'm just going to be recording basically everything that I'm out there. I'm even coming with a GoPro camera. So it's going to be like I'm filming everything. But again, like I said before, I thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to meet you guys in Texas. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And for you and everybody else from traveling out of Texas or out of town, as we say, welcome to our home. We're very excited for you guys to come and visit.
Well, guys, you heard it from the man himself, and hopefully I will be meeting some of you guys out there. You are more than welcome to come up to me. I'm going to be coming with stickers, passing stuff along. I might do a small little giveaway while I'm out there, depending
We
on how big of a bag I'm going to bring.
well, we if you want to do a giveaway while you're out there, maybe I can allocate something from our ever growing prize pool from one of the various sponsors I mentioned earlier for one of your giveaways.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look. I have a couple duplicates of like signatures. So I'm
Okay.
gonna look to see what I have, and I'll be in touch with you probably in like the next couple days, and I'll do like a giveaway, but it has to be at REBELSCUM. Like somebody has to come and find me there, like an Easter egg hunt.
Well, let's talk about that before Rebel Scum Con giveaway that we gotta
Okay.
have you do real quick. Um, before the week is out, do me a kindness and give away a free Rebel Scum Con weekend pass for me
Okay.
for one of your followers and viewers. All that we ask is that they follow your social medias and subscribe to you as well as our channels and pages. And as far as the terms of how you give away, I mean that's totally up to you.
Okay. All right. I'll come up with something clever today.
Sweet. Well, you guys heard it here live. She's got a free
Live.
weekend pass for Rebel ScumCon 2024 to give away to one of you lucky Star Wars fans.
All right,
Oh,
guys.
and kids 10 and under with an attending parent or guardian get in free, in case I forgot to mention that earlier.
No,
For
but I
those
think
of
it's
you
on
who
the
are
website.
families and wondering, what do I do with my kids? Bring your kids. There will be kids' events and activities happening too. It's a family friendly event.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be an epic weekend for sure. And you guys will be tuning into a lot of live features that I'm going to be doing. And like I always like to end my show, may the force be with you. I'll see
You
you guys
rebel
then.
scum.
And